Okay, so your passport is open on the counter. Your suitcase is somewhere behind you, moving through the airport system. In front of you, an immigration officer studies your photograph, looks at your face, and asks, "What is the purpose of your visit?" You understood every word. The question sounds simple, but now your mind is moving faster than your English. Should you say, "I came for visiting"? Should you explain your entire travel history? Should you mention the friend you are meeting, the places you hope to see, and the business meeting you may attend? The officer is waiting. What would you say? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A clear answer could be, "I'm here for a 10-day holiday. I'll be visiting the city and staying with a friend." That answer is short, natural, and relevant. It explains your purpose, your planned duration, and one important detail about your accommodation. But this interaction is only beginning. You have just entered airport immigration, one of the places where English learners can understand the vocabulary but still struggle with the pressure. The officer may speak quickly. The wording may be unfamiliar. A simple mistake may make your answer sound different from what you intended. The exact procedures, documents, and questions vary according to the country, your nationality, your immigration status, and the purpose of your journey. However, official border guidance commonly shows that travelers may be asked why they are visiting, how long they plan to remain, and whether they have the appropriate travel documents. This is not a lesson about finding a magical sentence that guarantees entry. No sentence can do that. This is about understanding questions, answering truthfully, organizing your information, and communicating without creating unnecessary confusion. The first important principle is direct answer plus relevant detail. When the officer asks, "What is the purpose of your visit?" begin with the main purpose. Then add one short detail that supports it. For example, "I'm here for a holiday. I'll be staying for 12 days." Or, "I'm attending a technology conference. The conference begins on Monday." Or, "I'm visiting my sister and her family. I'll be staying at their home." A nervous learner might answer, "I came because I want to see many things, and my friend told me that this country is very good, and maybe I can also meet some people." Grammar is not the biggest problem. The answer is unfocused. The officer still does not know whether the trip is for tourism, business, family, study, or another purpose. Another learner might say, "I came to visiting." The meaning is understandable, but the structure is unnatural. In this situation, say, "I'm here to visit my family," or "I'm here for a visit." Use to before a verb when explaining your purpose. "I'm here to attend a conference." Use for before a noun. "I'm here for a conference." That difference is small, but it makes your answer cleaner. And this is exactly why preparation matters. At immigration, you may not have time to build every sentence slowly. Subscribe to Daily English Avenue and practice these situations before the airport. The interview or the important conversation becomes real. Now the officer asks a follow-up question. "How long will you be staying?" A weak answer might be, "I will stay since 2 weeks." There are two problems. First, since normally identifies a starting point, such as since Monday or since 2024. It does not express a complete duration in this answer. Second, the officer is asking about your planned length of stay, not when the trip started. A stronger response would be, "I'll be staying for 2 weeks." You could also say, "I'm staying for 14 days," or "I plan to leave on the 22nd of August." Notice the structure, duration plus departure detail. "I'll be staying for 1 week, and my return flight is next Friday. I plan to stay for 3 months. My course ends in December. I'm only here overnight. My connecting flight leaves tomorrow morning." The word "only" can be useful when the stay is very short, but it is not necessary. Clear information is more important than decorative language. Now imagine you have prepared the answer, 2 weeks, but the officer uses different wording. Instead of asking, "How long will you be staying?" the officer asks, "When are you due to leave?" You might know the words when, due, and leave, yet fail to understand the full question. Here, due to leave means expected or scheduled to leave. A suitable answer would be, "I'm due to leave on the 18th. My return flight is in the evening." This is one of the hidden difficulties of immigration English. Two questions can request the same information using completely different words. How long are you staying? When will you be leaving? What is your departure date? When are you due to return? All four may be checking the duration of your visit. Do not memorize only one question. Learn to recognize the purpose behind different questions. The officer turns a page and asks, "Where will you be staying?" You answer, "In my friend." That answer can create confusion because you are using "in" for a person. You could stay with a person, at a hotel or in a city. Say, "I'll be staying with my friend." Say, "I'll be staying at the Central Park Hotel." Say, "I'll be staying in Manchester." The useful structure is accommodation type plus location. I'll be staying at a hotel near the city center. I'll be staying with my uncle at his home in Toronto. I have rented an apartment in the northern part of the city. A vague answer such as "somewhere near town" may be understandable in casual conversation, but immigration questions often require precise information. Give the name or address when you know it and when it is relevant. The officer may ask, "Do you have the address?" You do not need to panic if you cannot remember every number. You can say, "Yes, I have it in my booking confirmation. May I show it to you?" That response does three useful things. It answers directly, identifies the evidence, and politely offers the next step. Direct answer plus evidence plus offer. "Yes, the address is in my invitation letter. I can show you the letter." "Yes, it's saved on my phone. May I open it?" "No, I don't have the full address with me, but I have the hotel name and booking reference." Be truthful. Do not invent an address because you think silence will look suspicious. A false detail can create a larger problem than a short, honest explanation. Now the interaction becomes more difficult. The officer asks, "Who paid for your trip?" You expected questions about your hotel and departure date. You did not expect this one. A nervous learner might say, "My brother is sponsoring me because I don't have money." The answer may be honest, but "I don't have money" is too broad and may communicate something stronger than you intended. Perhaps you mean that your brother paid for the ticket, while you have your own spending money. A clearer answer would be, "My brother paid for my flight and accommodation, and I have my own funds for daily expenses." Or, "I paid for the trip myself." Or, "My employer is covering the conference expenses." The useful structure is payer plus covered costs plus your own arrangement. This is where the hidden purpose matters. The officer may not be judging your English level. The officer may be checking whether your travel plans are realistic, whether your explanation matches your documents, and whether you understand your own arrangements. The goal is not to impress the officer with advanced vocabulary. The goal is to make the correct meaning easy to understand. By this point, you have already learned how one unclear preposition, one vague detail, or one unnecessarily dramatic sentence can weaken an otherwise truthful answer. Subscribe to Daily English Avenue if you want to keep building this kind of practical confidence with learners who are preparing for real travel, work, and study situations. The officer now asks, "What do you do?" You may interpret this as, "What are you doing at this moment?" But in this context, it usually means, "What is your occupation?" A weak response might be, "I am doing business." That phrase is common in many varieties of English, but it is too general when someone is asking about your work. A stronger answer would be, "I run a small clothing business," or "I work as an accountant," or "I'm currently studying mechanical engineering." If you are self-employed, you can say, "I'm self-employed. I provide digital marketing services to small businesses." If you are between jobs, you do not need to invent employment. You could say, "I'm currently between jobs, but I previously worked as a laboratory assistant." If you are retired, say, "I'm retired. I worked in education for 30 years. Again, use category plus short explanation. "I'm a teacher. I teach mathematics at a secondary school. I'm a freelance designer. I mainly work with online clients. I'm a university student. I'm studying public health." Now the officer speaks more quickly. "Have you traveled here before, and if so, when was your most recent visit?" You understand "traveled here before," but you miss the second part. This is the moment when many learners guess. You might say, "Yes," and then become silent. Or you might answer with the date of your current arrival. Clarification is safer than guessing. You can say, "I'm sorry, I didn't understand the last part. Could you please repeat it?" Or, "Are you asking when I last visited this country?" Or, "Could you say that a little more slowly, please?" Asking for clarification does not prove that your English is poor. It proves that you care about answering the correct question. The officer repeats, "When was your last visit?" Now you can answer, "My last visit was in March 2024. I stayed for 6 days." Notice the past tense. The visit is finished, so was and stayed communicate completed actions. Do not say, my last visit is in March, when discussing a completed journey. Say, my last visit was in March. But suppose you accidentally give the wrong month. You say, March. Then immediately remember that it was May. Do not continue with incorrect information because you are embarrassed. Say, let me correct that. My last visit was in May, not March. Or, I'm sorry, I meant the 15th, not the 50th. Or, I may not have explained that clearly. I visited once before, but I did not stay overnight. A correction is not the end of communication. A calm correction can make your information more accurate. Now the officer asks, are you traveling alone? You answer, yes, I am traveling with my wife. Your grammar is correct, but your answer contradicts itself. Alone means without another person. The correct answer is, no, I'm traveling with my wife. If your wife is on a different flight, explain that detail. I'm traveling alone today, but I'll be meeting my wife tomorrow. If you are part of a group, say, I'm traveling with 3 colleagues. Consistency matters because immigration questions are often connected. Your purpose, duration, accommodation, and companions should describe the same journey. Imagine saying that you are traveling alone, then later saying that your colleague has all the hotel documents. The situation may be completely innocent, but your first answer created unnecessary confusion. Listen to the exact question before choosing yes or no. The officer then asks something unexpected. Will you be carrying out any work during your visit? A traveler attending meetings might answer, yes, I am coming for business. But the word work can have important legal meanings depending on the destination and your immigration permission. Do not guess what activities are allowed, and do not try to hide your plans behind vague language. Focus on accurate communication. You could say, I'm attending a 3-day conference, but I will not be taking local employment. Or, I'm visiting our company's regional office for meetings. My employer has provided the relevant documents. Or, when you are genuinely uncertain about what the officer means, ask, do you mean paid employment in this country? That clarification separates a broad, everyday meaning of work from the specific activity the officer may be asking about. The same principle applies throughout airport immigration. Answer the real question, not the question you expected. Now imagine the officer looks at your return booking and says, your ticket shows a departure on the 25th, but you said you were staying for 10 days. You suddenly realize that you counted incorrectly. This is a pressure moment. Becoming defensive will not fix the date. You can say, you're right, let me correct that. I'll be staying for 12 days and my departure is on the 25th. That answer acknowledges the issue, corrects the information, and confirms the accurate date. Avoid saying, no, you don't understand me. Even when you believe the other person misunderstood, begin calmly. I may not have explained that clearly. Then state the accurate information. Tone matters because the same words can sound cooperative or confrontational, depending on how you organize them. You have now reached the final test. Answer each question aloud before the countdown ends. First, imagine you hear, what brings you here? Answer aloud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A strong response could be, I'm here to attend my cousin's wedding, and I'll be staying for 1 week. This works because it gives the purpose immediately and adds a useful duration. Next, imagine the officer asks, where are you staying, and do you have confirmation? Answer aloud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A strong response could be, I'm staying at the Riverside Hotel. Yes, I have the booking confirmation on my phone. This works because it provides the location, answers the second part, and identifies the supporting information. Now imagine you hear, when are you due to leave? Answer aloud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A strong response could be, I'm due to leave on Monday morning. My return flight departs at 9:30. This works because it shows that you understood the alternative wording and provides a precise departure detail. Now the officer asks, who is covering your expenses? Answer aloud. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A strong response could be, I'm paying for the trip myself, and I have funds available for my accommodation and daily expenses. This works because it directly identifies the payer and briefly explains the financial arrangement. Finally, imagine the officer asks a question too quickly and you only understand the words previous visit. What would you say? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A strong response could be, I'm sorry, could you repeat the full question a little more slowly, please? This works because you do not pretend to understand. You politely request the information you need before answering. Think about which question created the most pressure for you. Was it your purpose, accommodation, finances, occupation, or travel history? Share your answer in the comments. Your difficulty may help shape a future daily English Avenue lesson for other travelers. So, can your English survive airport immigration? Yes, but not because you know every possible question or every complicated word. Your English survives when you understand what information is being requested, give a direct and truthful answer, add the right amount of detail, remain consistent, and ask for clarification when the wording is unclear. Your English survives when you can say, "Let me correct that," instead of allowing one nervous mistake to control the rest of the interaction. Your accent does not need to disappear. Your sentences do not need to be long. Your communication needs to be clear. At a border counter, confidence is not speaking without hesitation. Confidence is remaining accurate even when you feel pressure. Do not wait until an officer is holding your passport to discover which questions you cannot answer clearly. Subscribe to Daily English Avenue and build your own library of practical English lessons before your next important journey begins. This is Daily English Avenue, where we place your English inside real-life situations. What would your complete answer be if an immigration officer asked, "What is the purpose of your visit and how long will you be staying?" And join us in the next episode. Can your English survive a hotel check-in?